Let's talk about one of the biggest, most fascinating mysteries in modern pop culture. We're talking about BTS, the biggest musical group on the planet. How have they spent more than a decade under the most intense microscope you can imagine, and yet they've had absolutely zero confirmed dating scandals? Seriously, it's like a statistical impossibility, and today we're going to try and unravel it. That's right, zero. A big, round zero. That is the official number of publicly confirmed, flat-out exposed dating scandals for any of the 7 members of BTS. In an industry where an idol's love life is basically headline fuel, this is not just unusual, it's unheard of. It's a 10-year anomaly that just begs for a closer look.
Okay, so really, how is this possible? How can 7 of the most famous, successful, and, let's be honest, attractive young men in the world navigate a decade of global fame without a single public slip-up? Is it just insane discipline, a super powerful company pulling strings? Or is there something else going on? Well, we're going to investigate this like a case file, breaking down the very unique ecosystem around BTS into 3 key exhibits that might just solve this mystery. So our first piece of evidence, Exhibit A, isn't actually about the band members at all. It's about the environment they're in. And the absolute starting point for understanding this whole thing is to look at the intense and sometimes dangerously toxic reactions that a certain part of the fandom has to even the smallest hint of a relationship.
You know, from the very beginning, like a lot of idol groups, BTS and their agency really built up a specific image. The guys were marketed as being single and totally 100% dedicated to their fans, and only their fans. Now, this creates a super powerful connection, this parasocial bond. But there's a dark side. For some fans, a potential girlfriend or boyfriend isn't just a partner in the idol's life. No, they're seen as direct competition, a threat to the whole fantasy.
To really get the real-world impact of this, we've got to look at a concrete example. Back in 2019, a rumor involving Jungkook, the group's youngest member, just exploded online. And it is the perfect case study for how fast things can spiral from just a bit of speculation into outright harassment. So let's look at how this whole thing went down. It all starts with a leaked CCTV photo. It shows a man who looks a lot like Jungkook hugging a woman, a tattoo artist, from behind. Immediately, a portion of the fanbase just goes into overdrive. First, they tried to say it was a totally different rapper, a claim that rapper had to come out and publicly deny. Then they claimed the artist was already married, and they were even calling the tattoo shop where she worked to confirm it.
And even after both the artist and the agency Big Hit put out statements saying they were just friends, the harassment didn't stop. It actually got worse. The tattoo artist was just flooded with threats. And this quote here from the manager of the tattoo shop, it just shows you the terrifying collateral damage. They said their shop was getting reported to the police and that their own friends, their family, their acquaintances were all being threatened. I mean, this wasn't just online stuff. It was causing real fear for totally innocent people.
In that Jungkook incident, it wasn't a one-off thing. In late 2021, the group's leader, RM, became the new target. A YouTuber dropped a video claiming he was secretly dating a wealthy woman from the art world using some flimsy Instagram evidence. Almost instantly, toxic fans identified the woman they thought was his girlfriend and just bombarded her social media. The whole thing only cooled down when the company, JHope, and RM himself put out firm denials and threatened to sue anyone spreading false rumors. This creates a really clear, powerful pattern. Any public romantic association, real or not, leads to a massive, painful backlash. Okay, so if the threat of that toxic fan reaction is a huge deterrent, what about the media? This brings us to Exhibit B, the really strange silence from South Korea's most notorious celebrity news outlet, and a very popular fan theory that tries to explain it. First, you have to understand what Dispatch is. In the world of K-pop, they are the kings of the scoop. They are legendary for their paparazzi photos and for this huge tradition they have of revealing a brand new A-list celebrity couple every single New Year's Day. They've outed members from pretty much every major group you can think of. Big Bang, EXO, Blackpink, you name it. So their silence on BTS, the biggest group of all, it's not just quiet, it's loud. It's really conspicuous. And this leads us to a big fan theory that just won't die, that JHope, BTS's agency, has some kind of secret deal with Dispatch,
The idea is, in exchange for not publishing dating stories, HYBE gives them exclusives, photo shoots, special access. They even had BTS perform at Dispatch's anniversary concert, which is a booking that's almost impossible to get. I mean, from a business standpoint, a long-term relationship with the world's biggest band might be worth way more than one single dating story. But the counter-argument is that Dispatch has published negative stuff about BTS before, which makes a simple, friendly deal seem a little unlikely. The truth is probably way more complex, maybe more of a case-by-case business decision.
So we've covered the fans, we've covered the media, and that brings us to our final exhibit, and maybe the most straightforward one of all, the members themselves. We have to look at the actions, or I guess the inactions, of the 7 men at the very center of this storm. Think about it. Despite being some of the most famous people on the entire planet, we actually know very, very little about their lives outside of work. They have perfected this incredible skill of being constantly in the public eye while revealing almost nothing about their personal circles, their families, or what they do when they're off the clock. Their private lives are truly private.
And you know who basically confirmed this? Dispatch themselves. The outlet has apparently found BTS incredibly hard to follow. The members are either insanely busy and traveling all over the world, or when they are in Korea, they're almost always together as a group, which for paparazzi looking for a secret romantic meeting is pretty boring. And there's this one little story that perfectly captures this point.
The story goes that Dispatch once tailed Jungkook after he left the dorm by himself, thinking, okay, this is it. This is our chance to finally get the big scoop. They followed him, cameras at the ready, waiting for the big reveal. And what was the scandalous secret activity they caught on camera? Jungkook went into a grocery store, bought some banana milk, and went home. I have to imagine that was a pretty disappointing day at the office for those paparazzi.
So after looking at all this, what's the verdict? I think the crucial point here is that there's no single, simple answer to why BTS has had no dating scandals. It isn't just one thing. It's a combination of all these powerful forces working together. It's less of an unsolved mystery and more of a perfect storm of circumstances.
So let's recap what we found. It's really a combination of 4 huge factors. First, you've got those extreme fan reactions that make any public relationship incredibly costly for everyone involved. Second, a very calculated media landscape where a long-term business relationship might be better than a single scoop. Third, the members' own incredible, airtight discipline in keeping their private lives private. And finally, you have the immense power of their agency, HYBE, managing everything behind the scenes.
But you know, when we strip away all the theories and the analysis, there's a really vital point to remember. At the end of the day, we're talking about 7 human beings. They're grown men who, even with all their fame, have a right to a private life. They've given so much of themselves to their music and their fans, but that doesn't mean they owe the world every single detail of their existence. Both they and anyone they might be with deserve basic respect and privacy.
And that leaves us with one final question, a question about the future. Because this whole situation, this 10-year statistical anomaly, it can't last forever. Eventually news will come out. And the real question is, when that day finally comes, will the ecosystem that surrounds them have changed? Will it have matured? Or will that perfect storm we've just examined finally break? That's something to think about.